Hey folks, I'm back. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all having a good week. I'm going to do the same thing that I always do. I'm going to wait until LinkedIn actually tells me that we're live. But I'll tell you what. Let's put me on screen so you can actually see me. I'll talk to you. I'm going to look down at the screen as well until LinkedIn tells me that we're here. In a minute, I'm going to be talking to Barry Clark, author of Selling Made Simple, and now this is telling me that I'm live. We're going to talk about networking today. Barry's going to give me some schooling in networking because Barry made the comment that he used to be the world's worst networker and is going to talk about how he made it work for him. And I'm really intrigued with that. I'm just going to be looking down here for a second. There's a couple of things that I'm just going to do down on this, but we are live now. And as soon as I finish this, I'm just making sure the post is shared and that sort of thing down there. Still do my own tech. One day I'll have a team of people around me to do it for me. But I'll tell you what you could do for me. Actually, if you are watching this, if you're watching us live, put me a comment down below. It would be great to hear from you. Tell you what, actually, I had someone comment earlier about where they would find this when we do go live. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go and reply to that post and tell that person that we're here. And I'm going to do that whilst I keep talking to you and shortly before I bring Barry on screen as well. But let's just do that so that David can see that we're here. Someone's giving us a like along the way. Thank you for that. If you fancy comment, hey Jeff. Hey Jeff, it's lovely to hear from you. I guess that Barry was actually with you yesterday in Chester, because I know Barry and Jeff were speaking at the Chester Business Show yesterday. Let's do that. I'm going to just do that post. Jeff, it's lovely to hear from you. I'm pressing a lot of buttons here in the background, aren't I, to make everything work? And there's Jeff's comment. Hey, Jeff. And here's Barry. Barry and I have been talking for a couple of minutes before we went live, but morning, Barry. For the people who don't know you already, introduce yourself. Let the people who are watching and listening know who you are.
Thanks, Stephen. Good to be with you this morning. Morning, everybody out there in cyber world. Nice to be with you. My name's Barry Clark. My business is called Dunedin Consultancy. I do a couple of different things under that umbrella. The day job is helping small business owners and their teams within their businesses to improve their personal selling skills, to improve the sales processes within their business, generally help them to commercialize all the great ideas that they have inside their head, but they then struggle to put them into practice in the real world. So that's one of my day jobs. That, particularly through the pandemic, the sales training and selling skills coaching that I do evolved into one-to-one coaching and mentoring with business owners and with senior people within businesses, and that was really demand driven. People who had spent a bit of time with me learning about sales and selling then said, you know what, quite enjoying this and I'm really getting something out of it. Can we spend more time? Can you help me one to one with particular challenges within my business? So that's one side of the business. The other side harks back to my previous life before I set Dunedin Consultancy up in 2017. I had a 30 something year career in the hospitality industry, mostly in hotels, in sales and business development roles, senior leadership roles. And a lot of that was troubleshooting, building businesses, turning around businesses that were struggling. And I still do elements of that today. My hospitality consulting is, we talk about niches in running our businesses. That's my niche. That's my real specialist area that I spend a bit of time with one or two really important clients. And the beauty is the two are kind of interlinked. They're not unique elements, because a lot of the troubleshooting and turnaround activity is around commercialization, and it's around having a sales culture within a business. And it's all that experience in my previous working life and my employed life that set me up beautifully for what I do now.
Isn't it funny how this stuff joins up? We've already said hello to Jeff. I want to say hello to Stella Morrissey, who's here, who sometimes people's security settings make them pop up as private user. But Stella, thank you for joining us as well. Isn't it interesting to me, Barry? This has been coming up a lot. That isn't it interesting to everyone rather than just me? It's been coming up a lot in conversation with me this week. How things join up, how a lot of the skills that I talk to people in the chemical industry about leadership are the same skills that we need for networking, are the same skills that we need for sales, are the same skills that you need to run a successful hospitality business. This stuff all seems to sort of join up in the background, if you understand it, doesn't it?
It does all join up. And, in all the years that I've been working in businesses with whatever form, it's the same challenges that I see time and time again, whether that's today in 2022, whether it's 10 or 20 years ago. It's the same challenges. Can we build rapport with people quickly? Can we be authentic? And those two things are so important in being able to earn the trust of our prospects, of our colleagues, and of our potential customers. And it all comes down to trust. Everything comes down to trust. And I'm a huge believer your prospects and your existing customers will not buy from you if they don't trust you. So that ability that soft skill of being able to earn somebody's trust, and in many cases, very quickly. If you're working in the retail space, I mean, your early working career in retail, Stefan, you maybe had 10, 20 seconds when you first met somebody to build rapport with them and to earn their trust. In the B2B world, when I sit down with someone who wants to discuss a training program or a sales training program or a consultancy project, I've got a bit longer. I might have 10, 20 minutes to build rapport and to earn trust with them. If you're in that retail environment, or if you're in any kind of cyber or online space, you've got a few seconds. And it's perfectly capable, it's perfectly able to build rapport in that time. But you've got to be on it. You've got to understand how to do it and how to, the importance, apart from anything else, the importance of building rapport and earning trust.
This piece about leadership, whether you're in retail, hospitality, wherever you happen to be, sales and networking, it does all join up, because you need that trust in leadership as well. You need that trust if you're going to lead a team in hospitality or retail or the chemical industry or whatever it happens to be. We've had some more people joining us. So I'm just going to say, Barry and I are going to be here for 25 minutes or so. If you've got any questions that you want to ask about sales in your business, about networking, about hospitality, or about anything else pretty much, pop them in the comments below and Barry and I will answer them. If you're not already connected with Barry, that's where you'll find Barry on LinkedIn, and I strongly suggest, if you're not connected with Barry already, that you do connect with him. But if you've got questions in the next 20 or 25 minutes whilst Barry and I are still here, pop them down below and we'll answer them for you. So you titled this, Barry, that you used to be the world's worst networker, and I doubt that I can believe that, but I'd be really interested for you to tell me a bit more.
You're being very kind. If we wind back the clock to before when you and I knew each other, Stefan, I mean, we first met probably about 5 years ago. Prior to that, I would consider myself as being one of the world's worst networkers. I hated it. I hated it because I didn't understand it. I hadn't put the effort into learning how I could leverage networking to my advantage. And the funny thing is, I quite often see these signs, these signals in people that I talk with and I work with now. But I would have been one of, if we went back about 10 years, I would have been one of these corporate style hotel managers, sending my salesperson, my sales exec, I'm a business development person, sending them out to a networking event. And the minute they walk back into the hotel, I'd be cornering, well, who did you talk to? How many sales did you get? What business did you win? And just having completely unrealistic expectations. The other aspect of this, which looking back, I think is really important, and some people who know me personally, I mean, there's one or two watching this now who know me personally, might be surprised when I say that I'm quite an introverted person. If we all sit on this scale somewhere of whether we're extroverted, introvert. I kind of label myself as an extroverted introvert. I can I can channel my energy. I can be the extroverted person when I want to be and when I need to be. But the real me is sat at home, dog on my lap, probably slippers on, watching the TV with a cup of tea. I'm that kind of grounded, homely person. So walking into a room full of complete strangers is my idea of hell. It's the worst thing in the world for me to do, because all of my introvert characteristics kick in. The anxiety kicks in, the imposter syndrome kicks in. What am I doing here? There's 30 other people in this room and they all know each other and I don't know anybody. And I'll take you back to an experience probably about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. I got invited to a hospitality industry event in York. Travelled to York, got to the hotel, walked into the room, and there's 20 odd, 30 odd other, mostly salespeople from hotels. And my anxiety completely kicked in, and I actually left. I sneaked out the side door of the room because I just didn't want to stay. Now, you fast forward now, I can see the look of surprise on your face because you know me today. Fast forward to now, when I set my business up in 2017, I like a bit of a challenge. So not only did I start a new business, we moved from the Midlands back to the central belt of Scotland. I hadn't lived or worked in Scotland for about 15, 20 years at that point in time. So my network of contacts within Scotland was virtually non-existent. So I knew that I needed to get out and I needed to meet people and I needed to overcome my anxiety and my apprehension about meeting strangers. So threw myself into networking. As I advise people to do these days, I went around lots of different events, lots of different groups around the Edinburgh and Glasgow area. And over a period of maybe 3 or 4 months, figured out the events that I liked, figured out the events that I didn't like. Was the atmosphere right for me? Was it the right kind of group of people? And eventually narrowed down on three or four groups that I then committed to and I went to long term. And in a couple of cases, I'm still committed to. And that process did a couple of things for me. Something that I was completely unexpected, but looking back now, I can completely understand why it was a challenge for me. If you think of my old working life, in big hotels, big teams of people around me, I had responsibility for managing a lot of staff, and then obviously dozens, in many cases, hundreds of customers walking around me. So I was surrounded by people all day, every day in my working life. And then virtually overnight, set up my own consultancy business, and it's me and the dog, essentially. Working from home office, and the only thing I had for company was the radio and my dog. And as much as I'm very fond of my dog, conversation gets a bit one-sided after a while. He says yes to everything. And I happened to be listening to the radio one lunchtime when I was working away, and there was a radio phone-in about loneliness. And suddenly the penny dropped, and I realised that after sort of 3 or 4 months of working from home, I was lonely. I was missing that interaction with people. So one of the big things that throwing myself into networking did was gave me that human contact, that company of people, of like-minded people who were other small business owners, and we could have a grown-up serious conversation. And then as I learned from my peers, my contemporaries, yourself included, I've learned a heck of a lot. You've said I'm going to teach you about networking today. I've learned so much from you over the years. I was able to hone those skills. And I know I surprised you recently when I made a comment to you that a membership networking group that you and I used to be a member of, I got my credit card out of my wallet the day that I joined, and I never paid for membership ever again over a 3-4 year period, because I learned how to use that organization to my advantage.
I think I was just reading Michael Nagel's comment there as well. I mean, you and I, we were both members of For Networking, and then we met at #events Wonderful Expo Scotland, which to give a shout out to Expo Scotland, it's happening next week or the week after, Barry, and you'll be speaking at it
next Thursday. Yep, in Glasgow, 1st of December, at the C7 Conference Centre, and I will be there. So come along and see me.
Brilliant. if you're local to Glasgow, get along to that. I sadly won't be there this year for family reasons, but at Expo Scotland, it's where Barry and I first met, and we met because we were both members of 4Networking. It's two interesting things. Actually, we were both members of 4Networking, but we met because we were both at Expo Scotland, and that's intriguing to me. The bit about loneliness is really important because a lot of small business owners are in that position and they find themselves working from home. Or I've really recently moved into an office, as you and I were just talking about, and I'm enjoying the fact that there's a little sense of community here, receptionists and other people and that sort of thing. That's after 20 years or so of working from home, I'm enjoying this. Michael Nagels, thanks for joining us, Michael. When he first moved to the UK from America in 2012, business networking was the best way to establish a new base of connections. And when he walked into that first event, he knew nobody in Hertfordshire, and now Michael owns an important local business. It helped him establish those local connections. Lovely to see you, Michael, and I'll see you on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's going along to networking events and then starting to understand how to make it work for your business as well as just making it work for your loneliness. I think that's part of it as well, turning it into actual business.
Absolutely. I will. It's great that Michael Nagels is watching in today. Hi, Michael. I haven't seen you for ages. And you and I know each other thanks to 4Networking, and I know Michael, and he and I know each other through 4Networking, and so many other people in the business community now that I know through that organization and through other networking groups that I've been part of. And I will always be very grateful to 4N, because without that organization, I probably wouldn't have a business now. I probably wouldn't have got through those first really tricky, difficult couple of years. And, my first probably half dozen paying customers came through connections that were facilitated largely through 4N. And I think that, the really significant, when I say I probably wouldn't have a business today, this is the thing. I set up my consultancy 2017 with a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. And essentially, I wanted to continue the kind of troubleshooting consultancy work with hotels that I'd been doing in employment previously. And what I quite quickly learned was, and I see this so often today in people that I now talk to and work with, you have a great idea, you perhaps haven't researched and qualified that idea to the extent you should have before you set the business up. And what I realized quite quickly was huge need within the industry for my help and support, but actually the level of interest and the level of commitment of, we'll pay you for that help and advice was much, much lower. So whilst I never expected it to be easy, I learned quite quickly that it was going to be much more difficult than I'd anticipated to do so. Now, here's the beauty: because I threw myself into business networking and into those couple of key organizations, that got me in front of people in similar situations. It got me in front of small and medium-sized business owners. And it was around the same time that you and I first got to know each other. And I don't know whether you remember, Steph, probably 4 or 5 years ago, the first time we were doing a bit of work together, you were helping me. And you helped me to figure out, okay, what are the skills, what are the transferable skills that you've got? And actually, how can we leverage that people will pay you money for your advice? And I had this idea about selling skills, sales process, because in my early days of my networking journey, whenever I talked about sales, I got a reaction from people. And it was usually along the lines of, oh, I don't do sales. I'm no good at sales. And I don't know if you remember, you and I had coffee in Glasgow one time, probably about 5 years ago. And I shared with you, I've got this idea. People react whenever I talk about sales. And I remember your eyes lighting up, and you're like, you're onto something here. And we did some work on that together. You created a couple of 60-second intros for me around the anxiety that business owners have about selling and sales. And I still use them to this day. And there's a simple reason why I do, because whenever I walk into a networking group and I use that Everybody tells me they want to win more sales, but they also tell me they worry about being the pushy, overbearing salesperson. Quote Stephen Thomas, because you wrote that for me. I get at least 2 or 3 people in the group, I will get a physical reaction. They get flushed in the face, or they kind of sit back and go in on themselves. Quite often, if there's 2 friends together, one will turn to the other. He's talking about me. I get the physical reaction from people. So when I'm using that intro, I'm scanning the room to see who reacts. And then naturally, when we have in the 4N model, when you have the one-to-ones, if we have a coffee break and everybody starts having a chat again, those are the people that I will go and talk to, because they've already shown me some buying signals. They've reacted to my 60-second intro, and that tells me, right, that resonates with you. And from that simple, I mean, it sounds so simple when we talk about it, from that really focused intro that you created for me, to giving me the confidence to stand up there and talk about that, from listening to the people like Brad Burton saying, you don't need anyone's permission, you're the expert at whatever you say you're the expert at, that's how I've built my business. And, it'll be my 6th anniversary in March of setting up the business. And, I'm having a great time now.
I know you are, because I see you speaking all over the place and speaking at events and so on. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you about this stuff, because you've got such a grounded, down-to-earth way of looking at it. Tell you what I'm going to do just for a second. For those people who aren't connected with Barry, that's where you connect with Barry. For those of you who are watching us, listening to us, what's your biggest challenge with sales, or what's your biggest challenge with networking? If you're watching us or listening to us, what's your biggest challenge with sales or networking? Pop it in the comments below and we'll see if we can get you an answer. Trying desperately to disguise the fact that I was having a sip of water there and failing miserably. I need to get a much quieter bottle to make that happen. Well, if someone's launching a business at the moment, Barry, or if someone's got a business and they think they should go networking, what skills should they equip themselves with, in your opinion, before they go out there? What should their expectations be, and what skills do you think people should take with them when they go networking?
Really good question, Steph. Really good question. So, I mean, let's start with the expectations thing. Something that you and I speak about frequently, and I must have said it about 3 or 4 times yesterday when I was at the business show in Chester. I've learned, with your help, I've learned to have really quite low realistic expectations of any networking event, any expo that I go to. So if I think back to me kind of 10, 15 years ago, and I was like, how many contracts have you signed? Who have you sold to? It just doesn't happen like that. It just does not work like that. And funnily enough, I was having this conversation with one of my clients earlier in the week of, you really need to understand how the sales process works, and it takes time. You very rarely get instant results. So, yesterday I must have met probably 20, 30 new people. If I hadn't bothered to travel down to Chester to go to the show, to take Andrew Charlton's invitation to be in that space, to let him bring his audience to me, I'd have missed out on some great opportunities. So I had 20, 30 probably conversations yesterday. And there are 6 or 7 people that I met yesterday, a couple of them who Andrew brought to my stand, other people that I just met walking around the room and who came to see my stand. 6 or 7 people with really interesting conversations. We've got things in common, and either I can see that, there's potential there that I could work on their, work for them and help them overcome some of the challenges in their business. Equally, there was a couple of potential collaboration partners that I met yesterday. Similar experts who work in the same kind of field as me, but their specialism is slightly different from mine. But our skills and our expertise is very complementary. And as one of my business colleagues who you don't know, I was talking to yesterday on the phone, and he said to me, right now, and going through these tricky times that we're in economically, it's all about collaboration. Instead of us as business owners fighting against each other, it's all about collaboration at the moment. And if you get presented with an opportunity of, wow, your skills are really complementary to mine, if we combine those together, then crikey, we've got a really, really strong proposition that we're putting out to potential customers. So, I mean, you're aware of a collaboration that I'm currently, well, have been working in for about a year with one of my clients in the north of England. Two colleagues. We've been friends for a long time, so we know each other really well. We trust each other implicitly, working together on the same client's project, bringing two sets of expertise and experience, and that client is getting phenomenal results from that combined experience. So there was all those opportunities yesterday, and I think it comes down to we were talking about leadership earlier on, and there's that self-leadership conversation that you and I have had a number of times. That some of the people watching this morning, they may be like me, sole director within a business. They don't have any staff. They are the business, and people in those circumstances often say to me, "Well, I don't have to think about leadership." Well, I'm not so sure about that, because actually, have you not got self-leadership challenge? You need to motivate and inspire yourself, because you don't have anyone else to do it for you. And I think that's an equally important thing. And today's the prime example. I could easily have taken a really, on my feet all day long at the Expo in Chester yesterday, then a 250-mile drive home to Glasgow, where I'm based. It'd been really easy for me to say, I'm not doing anything today. Yeah, I'm probably firing at about 95% today. I'm a bit achy, and I'm a wee bit tired from a really long day yesterday. But I've got stuff in my diary for today. Taking this opportunity that you offered me. And that's the self-leadership to say, no, it's still a useful day. I'm going to get up, I'm going to do stuff. And I'm going to do the things that I've committed to in my diary. So I think that's all really important. And in terms of the networking event itself, one of the things I had to get my head around was understanding where that sits within the whole sales conversation, within the whole sales process, and comprehending that, you don't walk into a room. Let's take a 4N meeting, for example. You don't walk into the room to 20, 25 other people. The likelihood of you walking away with a sale that day is pretty slim. Because in its purest form, you're assuming that you're walking into the room and you're going to meet somebody who needs exactly my product at exactly this point in time. And the odds of that happening are pretty slim. Let's face it, pretty slim. But what I realized, and my philosophy on it is, I've got an audience of these 20, 25 people in this room. They may well not be my customer today. They may well not need my services today. But in a week's time, or a month's time, or 6 months' time, when they do need my services, I want to be damn sure that the first person they think of is me and not anyone else. And I can do that by showing up, by being authentic, by being professional, by being helpful, helping them out whenever I can, little snippets of advice, so that when they do need my services, they don't even think about going on Google and looking for anyone else. They just send me an email or they pick up the phone to me. And that has happened. I've had exactly that scenario with somebody that I knew from a 4N group, the 4N group in Edinburgh, who I'd probably known for 18 months. And then they were setting up a new business. They knew that they needed help with their sales process and their selling skills. And their words to me were, I've not even spoken to anyone else because I know you and I've known you through 4N. And I like you and I trust you. So what can you do for me? And they've gone on to be a very, very valuable customer.
I wish more people would get this as an opportunity, that with there's a load in what you've just said to pick up on. And for those people watching or listening, if Barry has said something that has intrigued you, has interested you, that you want to ask more about, just pop it in the comments below and we'll answer it. But that opportunity that you can build the relationship to such an extent that people just phone you is absolutely huge. The whole conversation about the Google zero moment of truth, that piece where people start to make up their mind what they're going to buy before they even pick up the phone to you, everything that you're doing is influencing that along the way, so that people are just really comfortable to speak to you because they know you so well because you've put the effort
Yeah.
into the relationships. The bit that you picked up on about self leadership is always interesting to me because it's, if you're leading people, you need to know where you're going because you want them to follow you. They want to follow you, but you do need to know where you're going. And it's the same with self leadership. You need to know the direction you're going in as well. One of the things that networking has helped me with, and I wonder if it's been the same for you, is it's helped me understand what that direction is, Barry, because I've been able to try out business ideas in a relatively safe environment and also understand from the audience, from the other folk networking, exactly what they need from me, and that's influenced the direction that I've gone in. And I wonder if it's,
Mm.
I think you've touched on it, it's done similar things for you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole product area around sales training, sales coaching, selling skills, that was developed by people in a networking environment coming to me and saying, "Oh, you used to be a salesman. I'm terrible at sales. Can you help me?" And it was literally through those kind of conversations that I thought, I think there's something in this. And then I had a chat with you, and you affirmed that, and you're like, absolutely, like, go for it, and I can help you to build that. And that is such an important part of my business now. The thing, it's one of the 3 product areas that I work in. But here's the thing, the topic of sales starts probably 90% of the conversations that I have with people.
Okay.
So through my networking activities, I've become recognized. I mean, bless him, Andrew Charlton yesterday introduced me to somebody as I'm the king of sales. Now, my introvert self, I get a bit uncomfortable with things like with labels like that. But that's how Andrew introduced me to somebody yesterday. And I have, and as uncomfortable as I find it, I will embrace that's the label that a lot of people give me now, and it starts so many conversations. So that breaks the ice. It allows me to start building rapport with people. Then, once I understand who I'm talking to and what their business is and what the challenges are, I can then steer the conversation in the direction that's appropriate in terms of which of my product areas is best for them. Equally, actually, if their challenges are outside my remit and I'm not the person to help them, I'm quickly thinking of, well, actually, who do I know that really could help the problems that you've got? And I'm comfortable enough in myself now that I'll refer them on to someone else rather than me trying to fit them into what I do, which is such a great way to earn trust of people as well. When you actually say to somebody, "I don't think I'm the best person to help you, but let me introduce you to Fred over there." I mean, that I do it quite often these days, and just the credibility that earns you of saying, "Actually, I don't think I'm the best person to help you." It's amazing. But I think that maybe one thing that we haven't mentioned, which kind of relates back to the title of this whole piece, the group that we met through 4N had this structure of local people in team roles kind of running the local meetings. And I quite quickly realized that by getting involved in that, it was going to give me a platform. And being on a team role with 4N, what that did for me, now, whilst I was giving a lot of my time and a lot of my knowledge and skill, here's the thing, it allowed me to walk the talk. So being in a team role and ultimately getting into quite a senior position, running several meetings across Scotland, I could demonstrate my leadership skills on a day-to-day basis. I could demonstrate my people skills by talking to people and getting people to come and attend the meetings. I could demonstrate my sales skills because one of my responsibilities was selling membership. And as you very kindly always pointed out, I was one of the best in the organization at selling memberships. And that in itself, there was a bit of a financial reward. So that kept me interested and occupied. It paid a couple of bills at the end of every month from what I financially earned. But the most important thing is that being in a leadership role within 4N, it allowed me a platform to demonstrate what I do, and thankfully to demonstrate that I'm quite good at it. I don't think my business would be where it is today without that opportunity. So I will always be very grateful for that.
I think that's is such an important point, and I'm glad you brought us back to it. And it's lost on people how much they, if you're involved in running a networking organization, and I'm pretty sure for the sake of the audience that I said that you were one of the best people at selling memberships alongside Michael Nagels. I'm pretty sure that was the conversation that we had, for the sake of it. But what people don't get is that they've got an excuse to go and talk to other local business people if they're involved in running a local networking organisation, because you don't have to approach the local accountant to sell your services. You can approach the local accountant to talk about inviting them to a networking group. And as you've quite rightly pointed out, if you're in a group leader role or something like that, or the equivalent, it gives you an enormous shop window to show off your skills, which you've been able to do over the years. Because, yeah, you're absolutely right. I did, recognise that you were really good at selling memberships, but you were really good at selling, and that was really, really obvious. And I'm not surprised that people have flocked to you for sales advice over the years, because it's one of the biggest concerns of small businesses, isn't it? It's one of the biggest concerns about getting customers in, and will continue to be. And I guess if anyone's involved in networking groups around the UK, I know that Michael's involved in Business Buzz. We've got Raj here in the room. I know that Raj is involved in BNI. If we've got people here who are involved in a networking group, what advice would you give them, Barry?
I would say make sure you're leveraging that opportunity so that it works for you as much as it works for the organization. And I used to see quite a lot of people in a team role who would get a bit disillusioned with it, because they felt they were always giving of their time or giving of their effort. And the conversation I would always have with people at that point is, well, how much are you leveraging the opportunity in return? Are you showcasing what you do? Are you in the right team role to actually demonstrate the skills that you're trying to promote within your business? Because you've got an unrivaled opportunity to do that. I seized the leadership role, ultimately ended up as area leader. So I was managing a team in my area, because that allowed me to demonstrate my skills in terms of leadership, in terms of motivating people, in terms of selling memberships, and in terms of helping to grow a bigger organization, which, funnily enough, are all topics that I spend time coaching and mentoring my clients on. So it allowed me to demonstrate it. And in that time, a number of people then came to me. And one of the challenges that I always have in my business, I'm in a business of change, and I'm largely in the business of helping business owners to get out of difficult, tricky situations. And, that requires a huge level of trust before people will open up and share with me what the problems are. So I don't cold call in my business. Can you imagine the cold call for my work? I know your business is struggling. I know you're about to go under and into liquidation. Don't worry, I can help you though. Put the phone down. I probably wouldn't even get to the end of the sentence before they put the phone down on me. So for me, it's all about prospecting, earning the trust of people, talking loosely about the areas where I help folk, so that they'll eventually feel comfortable enough to come to me quietly and say, can we have a chat? Things are a bit tricky at the moment. I wonder if you could be able to advise. Would you be able to help? And that is how virtually every one of my consultancy jobs starts, from that little slightly embarrassed, slightly uncomfortable conversation where people go, actually, I know Barry's a good guy, and I've heard him talking about stuff that, well, yeah, they're the problems that I'm having in my business. I'll have a chat. I'll take him for a coffee. And it's never in the room. It's never in front of other people. It's always the quiet. As you're walking out the door at the end of the meeting, it's have you got a minute? And then to me, there's a buying signal, right? Let's go and sit down and have a chat.
I love
So
buying
it's
signals.
look at the bigger picture.
I love buying signals. I love you. You've already said you keenly watch who's paying attention to you when you speak and who's reacting. Back in 1983, I used to keenly watch who was paying attention to a pair of shoes before approaching them in the shoe shop, and you look out for those buying signals if people move closer to you. I think that is again, that's such a big subject to pay attention to, actually being mindful of the people who are paying attention to you along the way. I'm going to do this because I've not done it for a few minutes. Eve, because Barry and I are going to wrap up in a few minutes. So if you're not already connected with Barry, I strongly suggest that you go and do so. That's where you'll find Barry on LinkedIn. Actually, I'll just copy that so I can pop it into the comments in a second. There's Barry's website there, Dunedin Consultancy, where you can see it's split between the work he does in the hospitality industry, the specialist niche work that Barry does there, and with his business to business services as well. Is there anywhere else, Barry, that people should find you, that people should connect with you if they're watching here today and want to be able to connect with you?
Yeah, people will find me on Facebook. They'll find me on Instagram as well. LinkedIn's my main platform that I use. It's all B2B that I work in, and I find that's the best platform for me to be in. So if you'd like to connect with me, you'll find me. I'm the only Barry Clark MIH on LinkedIn, so you'll find me nice and easily there. I often get asked, the MIH is, I'm a member of the Institute of Hospitality. That's what the MIH post-nominal stand for. And it means I'm the only Barry Clark MIH on LinkedIn, which is why I make it really easy for people to find me. And that in itself, I think, is a really important point. I was chatting away to somebody at the Chester Business Show yesterday. We were getting on really well, talking about potentially collaborating together. She gave me her business card, and in a little quiet moment in the show, I popped on LinkedIn to connect with her, and there was about 10 of her names, and I'm having to sit there and filter through which one is her. You got to stand out. You got to stand out from the crowd. You got to make it really easy for people to find you. For every, going back to my hotel time, we became obsessed about online booking, and still are to this day. But bizarrely, I remember being in a meeting. 2001 it was, with a company I worked for then, and we were actually sitting around a boardroom table debating, online's never going to take off. Who wants to book a hotel room online? Boy, did we get it wrong. Did we get it wrong back then? We just didn't understand. We're all online now, but it's so important that we can stand out from everybody else. If you just went into LinkedIn, I don't know how many dozens of Barry Clarks there are around the world.
There's probably loads. Oh, have we lost your... No, I can still hear you. There's probably loads. There's actually quite a few Stephen Thomases as well. There's quite a few Stephen Thomases out there. I'm lucky to have a relatively unusual name, but a name that's not that unusual in Germany or other parts of mainland Europe. That bit about standing out, making it easy for people to find you, you're doing that. You're doing that by going to the networking events, by being at the Chester Business Show yesterday, by being here now. You're literally putting yourself in front of people along the way. I'm going to wrap it up on that, Barry. We've been talking for a little while now. Thank you ever so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Any last point you want to make, Barry, before I press the button and switch us off for the day?
I think the last point I'd make, we touched on it earlier on, life's not straightforward at the moment. It's a bit tricky. And I see quite a lot of people around me, especially on social media, and this is maybe one of the downsides of social media. There's a lot of people out there talking down the economy and how, we're going into a recession and how difficult it's going to be. Will your business get through it? This will be the fourth recession, I think, that I've worked through the years. Things are going to get a little bit tricky, but these things can very quickly become a self-fulfilling prophecy if you yourself talk down, oh, my business isn't going to do well over the next couple of years. Your business will do as well as you make it. I made the comment the other day, and I know you really picked up on it. I'm not a very woo-woo person. I'm a very grounded, down-to-earth person. But I very much believe that if you get off your backside and you make the effort, the universe will provide for you. And the number of times in my early days in business, and some people watching this now might be in this place at the moment. You don't quite know where the next contract's coming from. You don't know who you're going to be writing the next invoice to. And I've been there, but whenever I was there, the universe always provided. And the phone rang, or an email popped in, usually, just as I'm feeling low, an email pings in, can we have a talk about such and such? So don't fill yourself with doom and gloom at the moment, because if you want to get your business through, you will get your business through the next couple of years. And part of that might be reaching out and asking for some help. Well, there's lots and lots of us around, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's Jeff that's watching this, Michael or Raj, lots of help around. Don't be too proud to reach out and ask for a bit of help. That's probably a good point to wrap things up.
It really is one of the biggest value that I've had out of networking over the years is the advice that I got from people along the way. Some of it informal, some of it like you, where I've paid you for your advice on certain things. I think that's just been huge. People steering me in the right direction. Barry, thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon. I'm just going to press that button first. I will be back. I'm going to be live over the next few weeks with other members of Connect. If you're interested, by the way, in being a member of Connect, in me doing a LinkedIn Live interview with you, in me doing all sorts of other things to promote your business to my network as well, that's where you'll find us, connectnetwork.app. So if you'd like me to assist you with your networking and actually promote your business to my network as well, go and have a look at connectnetwork.app. That's where I work with people like Barry Clark and Raj Sharma, who was on here earlier on, and other people and so on. Thanks for your time this morning. I keep saying this afternoon. Thanks for your time this morning. Thanks for spending some time with Barry and I. If you found that useful, share it. If you've got any other questions, pop them in the comments. We'll still answer them on the replay. I'm going to press the button which takes us off of being live